5 careers are officially on the chopping block as training camp kicks off, and the heat in the Windy City has never been this intense. The margin for error has completely vanished, leaving these athletes with one single shot to salvage their futures before the axe falls. If you want to stay ahead of every massive roster shakeup, injury update, and break down the season, do not miss out. Go ahead and hit that like button, share this video with fellow fans, and subscribe right now to lock in your front row seat. Can these guys actually survive the meat grinder of this summer's camp, or are we watching the final days of their careers unfold in real time? Let's dive straight into the secondary, where the pressure is officially red-hot for Tyreek Stevenson. This is not just a standard summer audition, this is a brutal, back-to-the-wall fight for survival at the number 2 cornerback spot. The front office brought in a hungry 4th-round rookie, Malik Muhammad, who was handpicked by the defensive coordinator to come in and aggressively take Stevenson's job. Remember, Stevenson already had to fight tooth and nail against Nan Wright just to secure his role last year, but the landscape has completely shifted. This training camp is quite literally his final stand to prove he belongs in the long-term blueprint of this franchise. There is a path where he dominates camp, locks down the boundary, and secures a massive multi-year extension to anchor this defense for the next 4 seasons. But the clock is loudly ticking, and the grace period is officially over. Give the guy credit for his work ethic. He spent the spring picking the brains of the offensive coaching staff, trying to figure out exactly how opposing quarterbacks plan to attack his coverage blind spots. He enters this critical campaign completely exposed with no contractual security, desperate to prove to a defensive staff that did not even draft him that he is an indispensable asset. The coaching staff has openly praised his maturity, noting that his growth from last offseason to now is like night and day. We all know the raw talent is there, but the volatility is maddening. His clutch strip fumble against Dallas completely rescued a sinking season when a catastrophic 0-3 start was staring them right in the face. He single-handedly flipped the momentum of this franchise. But then, the absolute nightmares happen, like that unfathomable, undisciplined lapse on the Hail Mary against the Commanders, alongside multiple coverage busts where he looked completely checked out. The rookie flashes were spectacular, but the inconsistency is a glaring liability. If he cannot string together a flawless camp and maintain it, he will be packing his bags next spring. It is officially put up or shut up time. Which brings us to his partner in the defensive backfield, Kyler Gordon. The financial stakes here are astronomical, making his situation incredibly complex. The team made him the highest-paid nickel corner in the entire league with a monster $40 million extension, locking him down through 28. Yet he enters this camp with more to prove than almost anyone else on the roster. Last year was an unmitigated disaster, as a soft tissue injury in camp snowballed into a cascade of setbacks, limiting him to a pathetic 5 games and forcing an extended stint on injured reserve. Now, his durability is under an absolute microscope, especially after yet another soft tissue injury completely wiped out his spring program. The coaching staff is visibly running out of patience. The defensive hierarchy publicly voiced their immense frustration this offseason, openly stating that while his talent is undeniable, his availability is a massive liability. Imagine being a coach who inherited an expensive player you did not draft, and you have barely seen him touch the field in a year and a half. The pressure is skyrocketing. If he rolls into camp and immediately pulls a muscle or lands back on the training table, the front office might just bite the bullet, absorb the dead money, and cut ties just like they did with underperforming veterans in the past. It is a heartbreaking scenario because a healthy Gordon completely transforms the ceiling of this entire defense. He is the ultimate defensive chess piece, a rare nickel who can disrupt the run, blitz the B-gap, and blanket slot receivers at all 3 levels of the field. But you cannot play football from the hot tub. Question of the day: who will actually deliver the bigger impact this season? Is it the player who stays healthy but gives you a roller coaster performance on the field, or the elite playmaker who just cannot seem to stay out of the medical tent? Drop a comment below right now and tell me if you are backing the corner or the nickel. Shifting over to the offensive line, Braxton Jones is staring down a brutal, one-year prove-it reality. After a deeply frustrating campaign where he looked like a shell of himself due to a nagging ankle injury, his departure felt like a foregone conclusion. But football is a game of brutal twists. A devastating post-season injury to Aussie Trapillo blew the door wide open for Jones to reclaim the starting left tackle spot. Right now, he is holding on to the pole position, taking every single first-team repetition throughout the spring. Unlike last year, he is completely healthy and running with the ones, but the competition is breathing down his neck with Jedrick Wills and Kieran Amagagi waiting for him to slip up. The coaches want stability, and they want it fast. They cannot afford a repeat of last summer's chaotic musical chairs where multiple linemen failed to lock down the job, forcing them to start an unhealthy option who got exposed immediately. If Jones can put on the pads and completely dominate the opening preseason games, he can lock down the blindside spot before the regular season even starts. If he stumbles, his career as a starting left tackle in this league might be finished. Meanwhile, the defensive line features a highly motivated, high-priced enigma in Austin Booker. The front office took a massive gamble by completely bypassing the elite edge rushers in free agency and skipping the position in the premium rounds of the draft, putting all their chips on Booker. They handed him a staggering $48 million contract despite him having minimal career sacks before tearing his Achilles in Week 8. His recovery has defied the medical staff's expectations, allowing him to participate in late minicamps, but the true test happens when the pads pop. His performance this summer will dictate the entire franchise's defensive strategy. If he looks explosive, he validates the front office's gamble. If he looks slow off the ball, it forces management to immediately dial up the free agent market to sign veterans like Jadeveon Clowney, Von Miller, or Joey Bosa. Expecting him to play up to that massive contract right away is foolish. The realistic hope is that he can provide a solid rotational presence on the edge and inside on passing downs. The depth chart behind the starters is terrifyingly thin and unproven, meaning his health is paramount. He has to prove he can take meaningful snaps, or this pass rush will completely collapse. Finally, let's talk about the absolute star power at wide receiver, where Rome Odunze is entering a career-defining summer. The stakes here are unique. He is not fighting for a roster spot, but he is fighting for alpha status. With a massive vacuum of targets available in this revamped passing game, Odunze has a golden opportunity to cement himself as the undisputed number one receiver. However, a painful foot stress fracture completely derailed his momentum last year. While the injury healed without surgery, the football world is watching like hawks to see if he still possesses that elite, explosive vertical leap and contested catch dominance that made him a top 10 draft pick. The wideout raised serious alarm bells this offseason when he admitted that his intensive daily rehab routine is his new normal. If the extra medical work keeps him on the field, great. But there is a very real, cutthroat reality brewing in the wide receiver room. Another young weapon, Luther Burden III, is locked and loaded to completely supplant him. If the second-round pick outproduces the top 10 pick, the coaches will not care about draft pedigree, they will play the hot hand. Odunze's long-term financial future hangs in the balance this August. If he dominates camp and claims the wide receiver one mantle, he puts himself in line for a record-breaking contract extension next offseason. If he struggles or lets the foot injury slow him down, he will be forced to play out his rookie contract with his future up in the air. Who do you think actually emerges from training camp as the true number one target for this offense? Will the top 10 pedigree of Odunze prevail, or will the raw, explosive talent of Burden steal the spotlight? Sound off in the comments with your predictions, and make sure your notifications are turned on because this training camp battle is going to be absolute cinema.